I'm looking at the quarterback, and although he at times has looked brilliant in those 3 losses, he's also been so erratic in turning the ball over. I don't think he gives me enough pop plays to afford to continue to go down this road. So I'm asking out loud, like, does anyone want to see Darnold? Because I was thinking about it in that fourth quarter. Are we going to go see Darnold? What's going on here? That turnover in the red zone, it can never happen. And if Jimmy threw that same interception,
crushing him,
the lines would be full asking to change quarterbacks.
Are we giving, I should say, Brock Purdy the benefit of the doubt now with his play up until this point? The last 3 weeks have not been good. Tim is on 680. He wants to weigh in. What's up, Tim? You're on the Morning Roast with Spadoni and Shasky.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, at 5-0, we were talking Super Bowl, and so was I. And hey, we're all optimistic with the team. But here's the bottom line. Kyle has put all his eggs in one basket, and it's the running game. They can't run the way they're doing things. We don't have Deebo Samuel as a running back. McCaffrey can't continue to do 20-plus touches a game. So that's one thing. Second thing is the scheme on the defense has to change, whether Wilkes goes or the scheme changes. So you're asking for, what is the solution? A, we got to fix the running game. We need to have another running back step up, and then the defense has to change. And I think we can course correct. But if not, guys, I don't think we're going to win another game.
Do you know who the highest paid running back is in the NFL right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who the highest paid running back in the NFL is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's Bijan Robinson making $13 million. So your point, and I'm not ripping you at all, you're 100% correct.
Thanks, Tim.
This is why I believe them to be a pretender at this moment right now. Like, if McCaffrey does not get 80-plus yards a game, they're in big trouble because they can't run play action and they can't throw the ball down the field using the deception that they like to use. They're not a drop-back passing team. They're just not.
Well, do they need to be?
No, all the other teams are. Eagles, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. They're all drop-back quarterback teams.
So then I'm looking
Even Seattle is more than we are.
Then I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan to adjust. If we're going to get on Steve Wilkes for adjustments and he needs to do this, that, and that, and when he's trying to blitz and then we're crushing him because he's getting bitten on it, at least he's trying something else. I need Kyle to adapt.
But that's not who he is.
No, but he needs to be.
I know.
If he's ever going to win a Super Bowl, he needs to adapt. What did Andy Reid do? He adapts to all of his talent at quarterback.
Their offense is totally different now than what it did with Alex Smith or what it did with Donovan McNabb.
No, when he was with Alex Smith, they didn't even complete a touchdown to a wide receiver all season long. They had running backs and tight ends.
But Joe, the point about Deebo Samuel not being there and hurting the running game, that to me shows how grossly overpaid Deebo. And I love Deebo. I love Deebo. No team in the NFL is spending more than 15 or 16 million at the running back position. The Niners have 12 million invested into Christian McCaffrey and 20 million invested into Deebo Samuel, who by position is wide receiver, but by style of play is running back. And so, again, as we look at defensive line being grossly overpaid, no team in the NFL is spending 2 and 3 times what the most expensive running back room is. That's what the Niners pay. And the fact they can't get the run game going, given how much money they've allocated, again, same argument as the defensive line. If you're going to spend that much and get no production, you're cooked.
Jason's out in Oakland. I think he's going to pile on to the coaching staff here. Jason, what's going on, man? You're on the Morning Roast.
Hey, man, what a rough weekend. I want to give a shout-out before I give my point. Shout-out to the Warriors. My birthday was on Friday. Thank God. My birthday was on Friday. I went up to Sac for the game. And the fact that they won made my birthday. So shout out to the Warriors. I think you guys are just really hitting the nail on the head with everything. Your takes have been spot on all morning. I just don't understand how people are just moving, what it seems to me at least, people are just moving the goalpost with Brock Purdy. They're like, he's doing really good for the first 3 quarters. He's great. And then he does really bad in the fourth quarters, and they're like, it's his concussion. Is the concussion symptoms only happening in the fourth quarter? I'm kind of confused on that. And then they're like, he's still a rookie. But the first 5 games, they're like, he's an MVP quarterback. It just seems there's a lot of moving a goalpost with Brock Purdy. My last point, they're talking about the defense, and they want to fire Steve Wilkes. I get it. Steve Wilkes isn't the greatest defensive coordinator. But the point is, this defense have only allowed 20 points or more 3 out of the 8 games. That's not bad. On the flip side, the offense has not scored over 20 points in the last three games. So if you're going to have that energy for the defensive coordinator, have the same energy for the offensive coordinator and the coach Shanahan. That's all I got, guys.
I'm
Thanks,
with you.
Jason.
Like, they scored 17, 17, 17. It's one thing to score 17 in a rainstorm. It's another in perfect conditions, back-to-back weeks, against teams who aren't led by their defense. Like, Minnesota is not led. Look, Cleveland's a very good defense. But quietly, I don't know if you saw this, Geno Smith came from behind and put up numbers against that same Cleveland defense.
He also didn't write back. I love that line. Sorry.
But like, I don't think Wilkes is great. But these guys got to make plays. Like, they're missing tackles.
Coaches coach and players play, Joe.
I mean,
that's the old
tackles.
saying.
Charvarius Ward continues. Charvarius Ward is literally hanging on the backs of wide receivers in the same way C-3PO was on the back of Chewbacca at the end of Empire Strikes Back. Like, that's literally what it looks like. This guy's holding everyone.
Give you a 3. Would have given you a 4 for Luke Skywalker on the back of Han Solo and Hoth.
Even better.
It's a little bit better.
Even better.
It's all right.
Yoda on the back of Luke when they were in the
That's a 5.
system.
There you go. That would have been a 5 right there. Shout out Empire Strikes Back. Still the best Star Wars of all time.
Ward
but to your
has
point,
been horrific.
Well, I keep going back to this one play because I think it signals to me everything you need to know about the 49ers secondary and how other teams don't respect it. They had an incomplete pass on the sideline. It was a back shoulder to Jamar Chase, and they did I think it was the third or fourth quarter, the exact same play the next play because they knew that Ward couldn't keep up and that it probably should have been PI for the prior one, and they got the call the second time. They don't respect the Niners secondary.
At all.
And that's what you can expect to see against Jalen Hurts on December 3rd, against elite-level quarterback play every time. Trevor Lawrence in a couple weeks. They're going to try to pick on your secondary. And if you're not getting home, that's the consequence of what's going to happen. So Nick Bosa, he got a fat paycheck. He needs to be having some fat game numbers, sack totals, all that. I don't care about the pressures to your point.
But you're
he needs to come home.
You're entitled to have a bad week.
Not 3 in a row.
Not this way.
No.
And here's the thing. The trend is this. Brock plays really good for 3 quarters. Well, except the Cleveland game. Really good for 3 quarters and then completely implodes.
Yeah.
You know what that sounds like? Just taking away the scrambling and some of the throws down. Sounds a lot like Jimmy.
Yep.
Sounds a lot like the bad quarterbacks in the league.
Get to see him tonight, too, by the way, on Monday Night Football as the Raiders head to Detroit.
Like, and all these people, like, just do the math in your head. Would Minnesota trade Brock Purdy straight up for Kirk Cousins? No.
Ooh. Well,
would Seattle
prior to the injury, but that's a great question.
Would Seattle trade Geno Smith for Brock Purdy right now, straight up? No, they wouldn't.
That's an interesting one,
right?
Age is a factor there too, a little bit. With Geno.
I know. Yeah. But like, they want to win, and I think that they think they can win with Geno. Like, so anyone going, Herbert and Mahomes and Josh Allen. Purdy's nowhere near those guys. You watched one of the real deals. Like Kyle, he's the real deal. No, Joe Burrow's the real deal. Joe Burrow at the line calling audibles, moving the line with his feet, pocket presence, awareness, arm talent, whether it's called throwing the ball as hard as he needs to or the touch teardrop passes. How about the killer instinct to be able to audible, go to shotgun, and then run for a first down? Or, hey, you just threw a back-breaking pick. Let me step on your throat and throw a dime for a touchdown. Game over. Night. Joe Burrow's the real deal. Brock Purdy, TBD.
Jobin in Walnut Creek? Or is it Jubin? Not Ruben. Jubin in Walnut Creek. What's going on, Jubin? You're on the Morning Roast with Spadoni and Shasky.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think silver lining, we're losing to a bunch of AFC teams, so I think that helps with like the
you would see in the
seeding
Super
and
Bowl
whatnot.
if it's still Super Bowl or bust. But go ahead.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think like the problem is third down on the defense. We just don't get off the field, and I feel like previous years a lot of 3 and outs, or don't even let them kind of get into our side of the field. And Oliver he's horrible in coverage, but man, that boy can tackle. So I got to give him some props on that. The red zone pick was super unfortunate. And then the main thing I just wanted to talk about was all summer long it was like, if Brock has a couple of bad games, what's the narrative going to be with Trey Lance? And this is kind of hypothetical, but I guess I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If Trey was on the team and he did get the 2 job, what would people be saying right now in terms of maybe making a switch to him?
I think the drum beat, I want you to stay on. The drum beat would be significantly louder. No one is opining for Sam Darnold. And here's the crazy thing. I was actually intrigued to see it. Kyle wants to hype him up so much. I was intrigued to see it.
Well, were you though?
One game, yes.
Okay.
Just to get a glimpse.
I feel like we would have seen a lot what we saw yesterday when it came to Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy, right? I think we would have seen some arm talent, like, oh, wow, what a throw. But then ultimately, what does Sam Darnold do? Turns the ball over. That can't happen if you're Brock, though.
No.
Because that's what we expect from Sam Darnolds of the world, the Jimmy Garoppolos of the world. We expect that, not from Brock. That's why it's so perplexing. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's, you know what? This guy is such a small sample size that we were crowning him way too early. Do we crown Brock Purdy way too early? 888-957-9570.
Well, I mean, it was hard not to.
He played so damn well
did.
and showed no faults, but the last few weeks, he's in a slump. Can he get out of it?
The glass slipper turned back into a pumpkin, it feels like.
Yes.
It just feels like he needs to be able, with this 2 weeks off, he needs to get right. The point about third down conversion is interesting because yesterday, Cincinnati was only 37% on third down. The Niners were 55% on third down. But the Niners converted a lot of those late in the game. And then I look at it like they had 29 first downs. The Bengals, 29 first downs. So forget
lot.
Third down conversions. They just kept, beautifully getting the ball down the field. They ran for $135. They had the time of possession, 31-28. And the only reason it was that close is because the Niners had the ball at the end of the fourth quarter because the game was over.
I want to hear from the quarterback himself, and we'll play some more sound too from Shanahan, Warner, Kittle, but Brock Purdy on finding a balance between playing free and pressing in late game situations.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be a fine balance to that. It's like, man, trusting the play, trusting what we're trying to do. The boys trying to get open, the offensive line, the protection, the play call, trusting that. And then, if it's not there, try to make something happen, but don't force it. And clearly, towards the end of the game, that's what I was doing was, starting to force things and not see things clearly. With the second pick to Ayuk, it's like, man, don't force things and let the game come to you. And if it's not there, then try to make something happen. But even when you're trying to make something happen, be smart with it as well. So definitely a fine line to it, and I had to learn the hard way today.
He doesn't trust what Kyle Shanahan's telling him to do is what that tells me. That's basically what he just told everyone. Yeah, I don't trust his play, so I'm going off script a lot. That's not good. How does Kyle Shanahan fix that?
He's freelancing way too much.
Way too much because he doesn't trust what's in front of him, what Kyle Shanahan's giving him.
And he's going to get hurt.
Yes.
I mean, he's getting thrown around a lot. Any quarterback that gets hit as much as he's been getting hit, I don't care how big or how small, you're going to get hurt.
And especially if they are smaller, though, too.
That last hit on the interception, which should have been an interception, he got rocked. Even on the one near the sideline, he got rocked, because I put that in my notes. The one that the linebacker just picked, by the way. We can laugh a little. That's one of the worst picks of all time.
It was pretty bad. It was a great play, but also it was
one of the worst.
Play.
You got picked by a guy in your face near the sideline like that, and it should have been pick six.
It should have been a pick six.
I mean, that was
He's
so
lucky
bad.
It's not, because it would have been on like the not top 10 for Sports Center.
Here's my note. Roll out. Should have pitched it. Maybe handoff. Oh, my God. Wow. He got rocked. What was he doing?
How do you do your notes, by the way? Do you have a little notebook like Steiny? There you go. Not the graph paper like Steiny, though. I like that.
I mean, and look, this Niner offense is not good. They're very predictable. Yeah. They throw to the same 5 spots on the field. I mean, they ran that double slant play or whatever that was where 2 guys were in the same area. There were 3 guys ready to intercept that second pass. 3. It wasn't just 1. It was 3. He also should have thrown an interception on the tip ball. He should have thrown an interception on the one on the inside, Charvarius Ward, near the sideline, which was so bad as he was getting hit that it was such a bad throw after the hit, the DB couldn't even make a play on it.
I know we've been crushing Steve Wilkes a lot for not making adjustments, but one adjustment I would like to see from Kyle Shanahan, because it seems like he's immune to all this criticism because he's the boy genius and all that. I know running is your bread and butter. I would like to see some hurry up a little earlier in the game until you need it to happen. Can you let Brock be like?
But you know
think
why you can't hurry up?
You think he's the real deal?
On the field forever.
You think he's the real deal? I want to see him. Yeah, but if the running game's not working, let him work there. If he feels more free and more like, he can
most
trust
teams
your
in the hurry up have 3 receivers they trust. This team has Ray McLeod, a kick returner who can do some jet sweeps here and there, and Juwan Jennings, who couldn't shake my grandpa.
Okay, but Juwan Jennings is a fine if he's your 4th, which is what he's
there 2 right now.
I know. But I use Kittle and Ayuk as 1 and 2, whatever you want to switch them, and then I'll put Jennings in there. But the problem is, again, George Kittle, a lot of his game is predicated on blocking because that goes back to the running game, yada, yada, yada. He's not a Darren Waller. He's not, the Travis Kelce's not as polished route running as those guys, and that comes up to bite them later on. He had a bad drop yesterday. He made up for it late when Brock scrambled, but stuff like that, it catches up.
Heading into the fourth quarter, okay, they had 170 yards passing, and they had like 60 yards rushing, and that was with Brock getting a ton of yards running the ball. All the yardage at the end was garbage.
Garbage.
It was all garbage.
He's what, in the 200s before
It was
that?
Kirk Cousins-esque playing for Washington in fantasy 5 years ago.
I was going to say, if you had fantasy and Purdy yesterday, you were so happy with all those that they declined the penalty at the end, which is a clear penalty.